Hi, everybody. Take three. Rush. This is the Rush all-time supersonic, no doubt about it, rankings video. Rush is Geddy Lee on bass and synths. Rush is Alex Lifeson on guitars and pedals. Rush is Neil Peart on drums and percussion. And Rush is also John Rutsey on drums and percussion for the very first Rush album, the self-titled debut album. When I started my Rush stage in 2023, I really only knew a few albums. I had Exit Stage Left, Hemispheres, Farewell to Kings, 2112, Counterparts, and Caressa Steel. And this stage goes, it started like right at the end of January 2023, or maybe February, early February. I asked my friends in a text message for give me your top 5 all-time live albums. And one of my friends immediately said Exit Stage Left. And I went, wait a minute, I have that album. And I went downstairs and grabbed the CD and listened to it. I started listening to it every day. And that's how it all started. It just snowballed into this, like, I became obsessed in listening to Rush. And I listened to all these albums, and I started buying the other albums, and I've listened to them all many, many, many times, just about every day. And that's how this all started. So how did I arrive at this list? Well, let's say this. I did an album review on each album and posted to YouTube. And then I ranked each album by a stage. So as you know, Rush has 4 or 5 stages. So I did a stage ranking for each one. And I put together the all-time rankings after each review. So I just kind of had a list going. Every time I did an album review, I updated the list and I slotted a disc. And then I resorted the list based on updated information. Like upon further review, I thought, well, maybe with new information, this one should go up or down. And I'll mention some of those as we go. But also, I've been re-listening to the list in the order from least favorite to favorite. And I haven't made any changes in doing that, but that's sort of helped me solidify the rankings list. And I call this is the drama versus Tormato test. So if you can imagine, like, I always thought I liked Yes Drama better than Yes Tormato until I actually listened to them back to back. And I was like, well, I actually like Tormato better. It just had a more profound effect on me. It sounded better. Bunch of different reasons. I won't get into it here. I digress. All right, well, let's get into it. By the way, I've never done it this way. In the past, when I did a rankings video, I just sorted it the way I thought. So this is much more elaborate and more rock solid in my point of view. Okay. Let's start out. These first few albums are good, but they're not great or excellent. By the way, there aren't any bad Rush albums. These first ones are just good. I'll just call them good. Okay. Number 19 is Hold Your Fire from 1987. It's got a poppy, prog-pop, pop-prog, pop sort of feel to it. What do I mean by that? Like most of the time signatures are in 4/4, and there's minimal time changes especially for Rush. There's like a limited hookiness. There's just like, it's almost like, it sounds like a pop record, but it's pretty proggy. It's proggy enough. It's kind of got a schmupsy, schmaltzy, drippy, emotional feel to it, like a pop record. That's really unique for Rush, and it just kind of has a low energy vibe going, and that's why it's not my favorite. It's not a bad album, like I said, and I just listened to it on Saturday. I liked Force 10, Time Stand Still, Lock and Key, Turn the Page, and Mission. And I've listened to this a bunch of times. I think I know by now it's definitely my least favorite. So number 19. Hold Your Fire, 1987. All right. Number 18, from 1974, Rush, the debut album. This is good. This is like a good after-work, school, relaxing music on a Friday night or a Saturday night. Or, it's a solid debut album. It's rock and roll, very 70s-ish, reminiscent of Led Zeppelin or something like that. It's got a blues rock feel to it, sort of, as much as Rush can be blues rock. But it's not proggy. And you can still hear the distinct Rush sound on it. it's definitely got Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson's fingerprints all over it, and you can hear them. But it doesn't sound like the other Rush albums. The best tracks are Need Some Love, Take a Friend, What You're Doing, Before and After, and Working Man. And I'll put Rush at number 18. Now, starting here, the albums are getting better. I would even call them great. Or if you don't want to call them great, they're definitely more advanced. Okay, more sophisticated. Number 17, Presto from 1989. Produced by Rush and Rupert Hine. It's okay. It's great. Actually, I just listened to it last night. I really liked it. I mean, look, they're trying to figure out what they're doing next. This is 1989, and like, where do we go? And what they were working on was minimizing the keyboards and being a more straight-up rock prog sound, and they did it. This is definitely an upgrade over the previous album, Hold Your Fire. It doesn't have any of the drippy emotionalness to it. It's just a straight-up album. What my biggest beef with it is it's not a good production. With Geddy sounds like he's 10 feet behind the microphone, or like I don't know. I don't like what they did. It really could use a remix or a re-record. The best tracks are Show Don't Tell, The Pass, Available Light, Chain Lightning, and War Paint. There's one other song too. Okay, that's it. Presto from 1989, 17. 16, Snakes and Arrows from 2007, produced by Rush and Nick Raskulinecz. This album's got a different, like, it's a later stage album. It's stage 5. It's their second from last album, and it's got a real different vibe. It's really heavy, like the other stage 5 albums. It's like super heavy and hard, but there's like, they've added Mellotron back in on Faithless and Good News First, and there's strings on Faithless too. So it's got like a different thing going on. But over the last couple of months, my appreciation for this has grown. I listened to it on Saturday night. I dig it. The picks from the album are Far Cry, Armor and Sword, Working Them Angels, and Faithless. Malignant Narcissism is the best of the 3 instrumentals. Hope is really good. Hope is the one that Alex did. And then the Monkey Business, the main Monkey Business, is also a great track. Number 16, Snakes and Arrows. Let's move on. I just realized I didn't have my power cord plugged in. It's like everything's going wrong. Okay, number 15, Fly By Night, 1975. This is a transitional sort of album for Rush. And they're moving from their conventional rock and roll 70s sound into a more proggy sound. And I'll say the main influence there is the switching drummers from Rutsey to Peart. Just what Neil has done by coming in is tighter song lyrics, better storytelling, and just incorporating all these different concepts into the record that are they're just more interesting and more flavorful than singing about drinking a beer after work or other rock and roll topics. So it's not a full calorie type progressive album, but it has moments and songs where it's super proggy, and you can feel the future's coming. From track 1 to track 8 to the end, it's a great listen, but I'll point out the ones that I really like. The best ones are Anthem, Best I Can is okay, Beneath, Between and Behind, Bytor. Fly By Night's just meh. Making Memories is like a love song, and Rivendell is I wouldn't say it's a love song, but it's about Lord of the Rings. It's got that kind of a acoustic-y feel. And then In the End. Number 15, Fly By Night. All right. Number 14, Clockwork Angels, 2012. Also produced by Rush and Nick Raskulinecz. He's back from Snake and Arrows. This will be the final and last Rush album with the death of Neil Peart. I don't expect another one. But this also, like the other Stage 5 albums, very heavy. Maybe the heaviest or the second heaviest Rush album. But what's different about it is there's lots of strings. So they use strings on the songs Halo Effect, The Anarchist, The Wreckers, BU to B2, or BU to B, Born to Believe, and The Garden. Like I said, this will be the final Rush album at 19. And my picks, my favorite ones are Caravan, BU to B, or Born to Believe. Brought Up to Believe, sorry. Clockwork Angels, Halo Effect, The Wreckers, Wish Them Well, The Garden, and I'm going to add Headlong Flight to the list just because it's on R40, and I like the song. And it's a concept album. It's a story, and they've written books about it. Neil has, so... Okay, number 14, Clockwork Angels. Now, from number 13 and on, I would describe these albums as excellent. Okay, from here on up, number 13, Signals, from 1982. By the way, I've moved this up. I had it way on the bottom. Let me talk about that for a minute. It's real melancholy, but what I've discovered is it's excellent power nap or sleeping music. Okay, it's better to listen to with earbuds or headphones on, especially the songs Digital Man and Subdivisions. My appreciation for this album has grown, especially even since I've done the album review on it. This is the final album produced by Rush and Terry Brown. And like I said, I'm in a pretty big stage right now where I really like the songs Chemistry, Losing It, Countdown, Digital Man, Subdivisions. Even New World Man's okay. I'm revising it up, and it's number 13, Signals. Number 12, Power Windows from 1985. This one's different from Signals. It's the next album in chronological order, but it's got a higher energy and faster tempos, and that's just more along with what I like in music. The biggest issues I have with this album is it's pretty minor. Neil is choosing controversial political nature of each of the songs, being almost critical of the system that brings us all wealth and stability. And that's by the way, it's minor, but it's probably the most unique of all Rush albums. And when I say that, it has the most 80-ish sort of glam type production with orchestral hits all over the place that are created by synths or keyboards. It's orchestra hits aplenty. The best tracks are the Big Money, Grand Designs, Manhattan Project, Marathon, Mystic Rhythms. And the other tracks are also great too. Territories, Middletown, and Emotion Detector. Power Windows. Number 11, Roll the Bones from 1991. Excellent album. Underrated and underappreciated by Rush fans, and I think you all missed the boat on it. Produced by Rush and Rupert Hine. It's got a real rock feel to it. It's like improved songwriting from the previous couple of albums. Even better than Presto. And it's proggy enough. It's got like a pop prog rock feel to it, but not in the same way of Hold Your Fire or Presto. It's even harder. The best tracks are Dreamline, Roll the Bones, which is a classic and staple, in my opinion. Where's My Thing, The Big Wheel, Ghost of a Chance, and Neurotica. Underrated album, Roll the Bones. Number 10, Test for Echo, 1996. Excellent. Also, you guys missed the boat on it. It's very underrated. I think all you guys were telling each other, oh, Rush isn't good anymore. But go back and listen to it. It's excellent. It's got a classic Rush-style prog rock somewhere in between Roll the Bones and Counterparts, which is it's the previous album, but produced by Peter Collins and Rush. The best tracks are Test for Echo, Driven, Totem, Limbo, Virtuality, Net Boy, Net Carve Away the Stone. Did I get the, yeah, I did. I got the instrumental. Okay, let me say one last thing about this album. Progarchives.com has this as the lowest rated Rush album at 2.87. It's not deserving of a... This is a good album. This is an excellent album. Test for Echo, number 10. Number 9. God, we're in the top 9. Vapor Trails, 2002. Produced by Rush and Paul Northfield. This is the first album of what I would call Stage 5, the last 3 albums. And it sounds like a post-grunge album. No keyboards, and that was a deliberate attempt by Rush to not include keyboards on their album since Hold Your Fire. This is the first time they made it. Loud, distorted guitars, and I would, perhaps the heaviest of all Rush albums. I would call it a heavy metal album, or a prog metal, or a heavy prog, or however you want to describe it. It's not heavy metal in the way that Metallica is, but it's a metal album, and it's a prog metal. This is the comeback album from the terrible tragedies that Neil Peart experienced in 97 and 98 with his daughter dying in a car accident and then his wife succumbing to cancer. Those themes are baked into each song, even though he was generally motivated by different books and things, but the themes it's common and current and consistent, and it's also got a post-September 11th type vibe to it. My picks are One Little Victory, Ceiling Unlimited, really every track except The Stars Look Down. I don't like The Stars Look Down. The top 3 tracks are Secret Touch, Earthshine, and Sweet Miracle. They run right in a row in the second half of the album. Those 3 tracks make the album. All the tracks are strong except for The Stars Look Down, but those 3 specifically, voila. Okay, Vapor Trails, number 9. Number 8. Make sure I'm grabbing the right disc. Grace Under Pressure, 1984. I had to make sure I wasn't holding it upside down. Produced by Peter Henderson and Rush. The best of the best of the Stage 3 albums, the best of the 80s albums. Well, no, not the best of the 80s albums. It's the best of the Stage 3 albums. It's a goddamn good album, okay? The true follow-up to Moving Pictures, it sounds more like Moving Pictures than Signals does, and it's like it would seem like that would be the right progression for it if it were to be right after Moving Pictures. There's a bunch of really cool songs on this. Distant Early Warning, After Image, really all of it. My least favorite is the Body Electric, but it's not that bad of a tune. You know, the 10010. Red Lenses and Between the Lines Between the Wheels are cool. And like Vapor Trails, this one, Grace Under Pressure, is one of those sort of benchmark albums where I think, well, is that album better than Grace Under Pressure, or is it better than Vapor Trails? And it sort of helps me weigh everything. I like this one. Number 8, Grace Under Pressure. Okay, number 7. Caressa Steel, 1975. This is a transition album from what they were doing in the 70s to prog, even more so than Fly By Night. Without making this a full-fledged album review, I'll just say that the first 3 tracks are in homage to Canada. For instance, Toronto is Lakeside Park, and Montreal is like Bastille Days. And then, by the way, I'm really simplifying it and dumbing it down. I know it's more complicated than that, but you get the point. And then Kiss, like they wrote a song in homage to Kiss. I Think I'm Going Bald. It even sounds like a Kiss song. Those three tracks sound more like Fly By Night. The second half are prog rock epics, more aligned with their 70s classics. So honestly, I can't believe I only have this at number 7 because it's such a excellent, outstanding record that I love listening to. Neil Peart, it's his second album, and he's really yielding huge dividends for the band with the better songs and the stories. And it's proggy. 2 of the prog tracks make up for 40% of the tracks, The Necromancer and Fountain of Labyrinth. And then by runtime, though, it's like 71% of the album. 32 of the 45 minutes are super, just off the charts, great prog. And by the way, 355 on progarchives.com. It should have a higher rating than that. I'd give it a 4.5, honestly. It's just an outstanding prog rock album. And if you're into prog and rock, then you should like this. You probably do like this. I'm underestimating you. Number 7, Caressa Steel. Number 6, 2112, with that iconic album cover. Look at that. This is a album. A lot of you might have it. Some of you might have this number 1, honestly. This is the first true. This is a prog. It's classic prog. It's tight writing, and it's not a concept album, but it's got the big 2112 suite with the heavy Ayn Rand influence. But so let me just say this, because I had a tiny little rant there with Power Windows. I know I can't have it both ways. In other words, I don't complain about it too much on Power Windows, and so I won't complain about it too much here. But Power Windows is critical of our systems, and 2112 is largely about Ayn Rand's anthem, the concept of individuality having been eliminated from people's lives. It's a little bit controversial in that aspect, but the music's better here, and it's universally loved and adored, especially by Rush fans, but also prog fans and rock and roll fans in general. Just love this, and it's really heavy. Number 6 is 2112. Number 5, from 93, Counterparts. Produced by Peter Collins and Rush. This is a hard rock. I would even say it's a heavy metal, hard rock type album. Fairly proggy. And it's just a great, enjoyable listening to from beginning to end, especially if you're driving around in a car or a truck. The best tracks are Animate, Stick It Out, Speed of Love, Double Agent, Leave That Thing Alone, and Everyday Glory. And it might be controversial, it's a top 5, but I don't care, I like it. I think it's great. It's better than great, it's excellent. Counterparts, number 5. Number 4, Moving Pictures, 1981. It has the Rush signature song on it, Tom Sawyer. It's the first track. It has an epic song, The Camera Eye. And the rest of the tracks are all excellent, solid, just solid. It's radio friendly, it's consumable, it's easy to listen to, it's enjoyable. It has YYZ, Limelight, Witch Hunt, the Fear Saga. And then it's got Vital Signs, the last song, it's a cool song. You might have it number 1. For me, number 4. Moving Pictures, excellent. Number 3, you might also have this number 1, Permanent Waves from 1980. This has got everything too. It's got an epic, Natural Science. It's got a signature song. If Tom Sawyer isn't the signature song of Rush, then The Spirit of Radio is. That's probably their number 2 sig song. I mean, it also has either their number 1, number 2, or number 3 best song ever, which is Jacob's Ladder. It's 1, 2, or 3. It has Free Will, and it's radio friendly and super consumable, and it's prog-archives.com has it ranked number 61 all time. That's the 4th highest for a Rush album. Okay. Permanent Waves. By the way, they've got this one ranked higher at number 18. This one, 61, not too shabby, okay? Number 3, Permanent Waves. Number 2, A Farewell to Kings, 1977. The big question is, why isn't this number 1? I'm not sure. I think if you nudged me enough or twisted my arm hard enough, it could be number 1. It's amazing. It has Xanadu. For me, Xanadu is probably... It's their number 1. It's their best song. Yeah. It also has Cygnus X1, which is the second epic track on the album. It's also amazing. It's not as good as Xanadu, but it's pretty close. And also, I'll say the two epics here are better than The Camera Eye or Natural Science, and that's the tiebreaker. But why isn't it number 1? Maybe it's number 1A. But honestly, this is excellent. And also it has A Farewell to Kings, Closer to the Heart, which is a Rush staple, concert staple. Cinderella Man's okay. Magical is just okay. Magical is why it's number 2. Yeah. Okay. A Farewell to Kings, number 2. That means the number 1 all-time supersonic Rush album is Hemispheres, 1978. To me, this is the most complete project from Rush. It's the best. It's their masterpiece. It's their best album. It has Book 2, Cygnus X1 Book 2, which is the it's like a part 2 of Cygnus X1, where the spaceship that they're riding around in they're flying around in space, and they come up on a black hole, and they end up in the black hole, and they're not dead or alive, but what they witness is the battle between Dionysus and Apollo, and they witness. It's quite funny, actually. So it has La Via Strangiato, which is I'll say it's better than Jacob's Ladder or Xanadu. That's why it's number 1. Okay. It also has The Trees, which is pretty good, and Circumstances. By the way, prog-archives.com has this one number 21. It's the second highest album. It's got Hemispheres. It's got A Farewell to Kings, 29. Even prog-archives.com is on my side here. This is my favorite. This one's number 1. It's not only my favorite, but I think it's the best one. Okay? All right. Pause. If there aren't any questions, we'll just go through and from beginning to end real quick. Number 19, Hold Your Fire. Number 18, Rush. Number 17, Presto. Number 16, Snakes and Arrows. 15, Fly By Night. 14, Clockwork Angels. 13, Signals. 12, Power Windows. 11, Roll the Bones. 10, Test for Echo. 9, Vapor Trails. 8, Grace Under Pressure. 7, Caressa Steel. 6, 2112. 5, Counterparts. 4, moving pictures. 3, permanent waves. 2, A Farewell to Kings. And number 1, the best one, Hemispheres, and my favorite. All right. This is the all-time supersonic, no doubt about it. It's the all-time ranking video. It's Rush. You know, it's what more is there to say? I really enjoyed this stage. I think the stage is really wound down, but Rush is one of my favorite bands. They're not number 1. They're not even 2 or 3 really, but they're right up. They're right up there. That could be a future ranking video, by the way. What's next on the channel? I'm writing Meet the Beatles follow-up album, the Beatles' second album. That'll be coming later this week. I'll have that ready to go and recorded. And then after that, I'm batting around some other ideas, so we'll just keep marching along. And thanks everybody for listening. Coach Plow Guy out.